For 30 years, the FACE Act was a one-way street, a hammer used against grandmothers praying on sidewalks. But today, the sword has changed hands. Don Lemon just walked into a federal courthouse to plead not guilty to those exact same charges. Is the law finally falling evenly, or is this just the new political leverage? I'm Wayne, and we're diving into the stress test of equal justice. I've always enjoyed working in a shop environment. There's something about the teamwork, the noise, the movement. And between stacking tires and putting in a few thousand steps, there's always a debate about whatever headline is lighting up the news. Today, it was the FACE Act. For nearly 3 decades, FACE Act enforcement felt like a one-way street, a hammer in a glass case, broken out when the wrong people were praying on a sidewalk. We saw it peak a couple years ago. Grandmothers, women in their 70s, failing health, Paulette Harlow, Joan Andrews Bell. 2-year federal sentences for conspiracy tied to pro-life demonstrations. That was the climate. But today, the sword appears to have changed hands. Up in Minnesota, a name most people recognize is dominating the news. Don Lemon. He walked into a federal courthouse and pleaded not guilty to charges that, just a few years ago, would have seemed politically unthinkable. He's being charged under the same statute. The indictment describes a scene at City's Church in St. Paul. Allegedly disrupting a Sunday service, blocking aisles, confronting the pastor during worship. Now here's what matters. The statute, written into federal law, makes it illegal to intentionally obstruct access to religious worship or reproductive health services. Both. For years, the Religious Protection Clause sat mostly dormant. Now it's being tested. To Lemon, this may have been journalism. To federal prosecutors, it may constitute interference with the right to worship without intimidation or obstruction. That's a significant shift, and while that unfolds in Minnesota, something else is happening down in Mississippi. Pastor Shane Vaughn has spoken publicly about a broader legal strategy challenging what critics call selective enforcement. That ties into Mississippi Senate Resolution 27, a resolution calling for repeal of the FACE Act altogether. It labels the law irreparably compromised by partisan application. It even references the January 2025 pardons of several pro-life activists as evidence that prior enforcement was deeply contested. Whether you agree or disagree with that effort, the ground is moving, and this is where it becomes bigger than any one personality. Don Lemon may now represent a stress test. For years, critics said the law only ran one direction. Supporters insisted it protected safety and access equally. Now we'll see. Because if a law only applies when your opponent breaks it, it isn't functioning as law, it's functioning as leverage. True justice requires something deeper. It requires moral realism, the ability to judge actions independent of the popularity of the person committing them. Justice can't survive if standards shift with power. Laws reveal their character not when they punish the obscure, but when they restrain the influential. Equal justice isn't a slogan. It's a stress test. The hammer may be falling in a different direction now. The real question is this: do the people who forged it believe it should fall evenly? I'm Wayne, and that's my worldview. What's yours? Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'm Wayne, and that's my worldview. What's yours?